Last class, we have seen how character sequences can be represented in a C program and how they can be processed. But they are not formally treated as strings by the C language or the compiler of the C language. Today, the agenda is to see formally what is considered as a string, and also we shall see the common string processing library functions provided by the C language. So the agenda for today is to see what are formally strings in the C language, not just character sequences. What is the difference between a character sequence and a string? And also we shall look at the common built-in functions provided by C for string processing. So now we are going to see how strings are represented, not character sequences, strings. Then you may wonder what is the difference. I'm going to tell you with examples. Strings in C. A string in C language is formally a null terminated sequence of characters. So that's it. A sequence of characters terminated with the null character, which is /0. I hope you remember this special character. You can see example strings in C. Here is the example, good morning, followed by /0 is null terminated. Another example, Malayalam, again null terminated. If you want to see an example character sequence which is not formally a string, you can have anything. This is just an example. This is just a sequence of characters, but it's not ending with a /0. Then an interesting question is that why we need, or why the C language needs null terminated sequence of characters as string. Because the built-in string processing functions that we are going to learn today require null terminated strings. We shall see later why they require so, but that is the need. With this, let us proceed and look at examples to see character sequence and string. So here is a character sequence which is just a word, and the corresponding string is this. If you just append it with the null character, you are getting a string. And why the library function requires to have this null character is, suppose it needs to say print the word, then how can it print? Either you have to give the number of letters, or you have to give the special character which marks the end of the string. And how the C library functions for string processing are implemented is that it looks for this as the last character and it performs the required operation on the array until it finds /0. So if you store /0 here, then regardless of what you have after that, the string will be treated as go if /0 is appearing here. You can have multiple /0s, but the library function will consider the first /0 as the end of the string. That's it. Now, Suppose you have this statement in your program where you are trying to assign this string constant to the array like this. Assume that this is an array, single dimensional array. Then exactly what is happening is this is happening. So /0 will be automatically added by the compiler. If you just go with a string constant, then always the compiler will add the /0 for you. Maybe you can just try to print it. What I am trying to print is like this. Character at index 4, that is this character, is I am printing that character. And its ASCII value is %d, comma, I am printing the ASCII value of that. And in fact, if you print, this is a non-printable character. So nothing is getting printed for this %c because it is non-printable. The null character is non-printable. If you print, you will not see anything. Maybe you can consider that the ASCII value is of course 0. It is printed over here. ASCII value of this character is 0. You can refer to that table. You can see that it is 0. Or you can just run this line of code. You can see that it is 0. Maybe you can consider it as something like the ASCII value is the intensity at which that particular character needs to be displayed, just for you to remember. The intensity is 0 means nothing is getting displayed. Okay, I hope it is clear. Let's proceed and look at a line of string. So this is just a sequence of characters because it is not ending with a null character. Here is the corresponding string. Now just look at a sentence. Here is a sentence which is ending with a dot, but it's not treated as a string because it's not ending with a /0. Here is the corresponding string which is accepted by the library functions in C. It will be more interesting when you look at a paragraph. Here you have a paragraph and there are two sentences in it. This is the same one that we discussed in the previous class, and here is the corresponding string. Maybe this is the right example to understand why null terminated strings are demanded by the library function. If you look at, you can see that actually there are two sentences. See, here a sentence ends with a dot and here another one with a dot. So how can the library function, if you pass this paragraph to a library function, so how can it identify where it ends? It's not always the number of cells in the array, it is 60. Because some of them are not getting filled. Either you have to say 57, and that is one way, but how the C library functions are implemented is that they look for the /0 as the last character. So no need to pass the length of the string. It can automatically find it as 55 by looking at the /0. It will be considered as the previous one will be considered as the last character and the total length will be taken as 56. I hope you are getting. Let's proceed and see how will you do if you look at the two-dimensional array. So here is a sequence of words in a two-dimensional array and the corresponding strings are here. So each one is terminating with a null character. You consider the case in which you are asked to sort the words in a sentence in alphabetic order. Then what you can do is you separate the words and store it in a two-dimensional array so that each one is a string in C ending with /0. Then you can use string processing functions like string compare to see which one needs to be placed as the first one. So at the end of this lecture, I am giving you an exercise like that. Okay, now we can see how you can process strings in C. Last class we have seen how you can process character sequences for which there is no built-in support for any functionality. But now we're going to see how the built-in support can be used to easily implement string processing in a C program. The first operation that we are going to see is how to read a string. Now we are looking at a word. Suppose you have an array declared with size 5. Just look at the code. Here I am telling you how can you use %s with scanf to read a word. And not that %s reads a sequence of characters until it finds a blank space or a new line. That is, you can enter a sequence of characters and the %s will continue reading until it gets into a blank space or the enter key. And then it makes a null terminated string out of it. We can run this, we can try to see how this program is executed, and then it will be more clear. And here you have to note that leaving a blank space, there is a typing mistake, sorry for that. Leaving a blank space here just before the percentage is important to ignore spaces, if any, received in the input buffer or keyboard buffer before the first letter of the word that you want to enter. Suppose that the previous /n character, you are entering a sequence of 2 inputs, and the previous input was say a number like 10, and after 10 you put a /n, like pressing an enter key. Maybe that is there in the buffer. Now a space here or a space is there. So if suppose you leave a space after 10 and then you are typing the word like good, then what will happen is the space that you entered after the value 10 will be considered as the end of the word and it will not read anything into this array. You can try executing such a program and see what is happening. Now you can see when you try to execute the program containing this part of the code, when you execute this, this is getting printed, and because you lost a space here, now the this is the next place where you can type in or see something. Now it proceeds to the next, which is a scanf. Because it's an input statement, it waits until user gives the required input, and because it is %s, it needs a sequence of characters ending with a space or a sequence of spaces. So here I assume that the user is giving good followed by a blank space. This not that this blank space is a must. Otherwise it will continue reading. If you type on, it will continue reading. Okay, now when you execute it, this is what is happening. So good is taken, actually this blank space stops this reading, and rather than the first blank space, /0 is inserted, and this is done by a built-in facility which is %s option with scanf. So that is how you can read a word. It stops reading with the first blank space character or the new line character, and then it adds a /0. Now proceed that if you print it, so you can see that you are printing on to the next line, and the %s will print all the letters until it finds the first /0. It's very important. Not that even though you put a blank, the system internally put a /0 here, and in the printf, %s will look for /0. It will continue printing characters until it finds a /0. Okay, and for this code to successfully run, the array must have at least size 5. You can try if you declare an array of size 4 and try executing this. You can see that the program is crashing. It's because the program is trying to access a location which is not allocated to it. Now you can see how can you read a line of text. Suppose you have an array like this of size 15, and here is the code, and here I am introducing a new library function getter, which is an input function to read a sequence of characters until it finds the new line character. So it reads the line. You can type in, and whatever you type in before you press the enter, all those characters will be stored in the array. And it will also put a /0. So if you execute this line, this is getting displayed, and assume that you're coming to here, then it will wait for the input, and if the user is entering like this is the line and an enter key is pressed, and that is why the next control comes here. And if you execute this line, what will happen? This will be getting added to the array. Not that this /n, which is the new line character, is replaced here with the null character. And if you print it, see that the same percentages is now printing a sentence, not a word. That means the percentages in the printf will continue to print until it gets into the first /0. That's what I'm saying. So it can be used. Percentages can be used to print any null terminator string. It could be a word or a paragraph or a sentence or even a complete text. And for this code to run, the size of the array should be, minimum size of the array should be 15. Now look at a paragraph. Suppose you have an array, single dimensional array again from 0 to 59. From the last class, you know that I'm splitting it because of the space limitation on my display. So here is the code. What I'm trying to now introduce is a special sequence of characters as a control sequence in scanf. And what is it? So I'm putting star just after the caret, a pair over caret, which is within the square brackets. I'll tell you what it is. It reads a sequence of characters until it finds a character which is listed after the caret within the square bracket. So after the caret, in this particular case, only star is listed. That means this will continue reading until it finds a star. So if you want to read a paragraph so that the paragraph is ending with a special character like star, what you can do is you can go for it. So what is it? It will continue reading until it finds one of the symbols listed here after the character. In this example, I have listed only star, but you can list any characters in C, but the moment it gets into the first character listed over here, it will stop. So that's it. There is another way of using it. Without this caret, if you use a list of characters, what will happen is, if you use caret, it will stop with any of these characters. Okay? If you are not using caret, then it can only read symbols from this list. So it can only read string over the alphabet set, capital ABC, small ABC. So just negating the meaning. So without caret, it means you can only read characters in this group, and with this caret, it means you can read only symbols not listed over here. So I hope it's clear. You can practice, you type in and see, execute and see what is happening. So if I execute this, the message is getting displayed. So the user is getting a message. Enter a paragraph ending with a star. So a star will stop reading. And assume that you're coming to this line and executing it. It will wait for a sequence of characters ending with a star. Assume now that this is what the user is giving. This is an example paragraph, dot, space. It contains two sentences, dot, then a star. So if you execute it, this is what is getting stored. Not that everything is getting stored except the star where in place you are having a /0. Now, if you proceed, /0 is automatically added, and if you proceed, here you see that percentage %s is used again, and you already know that it will continue printing until it see the /0. Okay, so this is an example paragraph. It contains 2 sentences. Same thing, except the last one which was replaced by /0. Okay, now I hope you got enough information about what are formal strings in C, and now we are going to see built-in string functions which are common. So first function that we are going to see is strlen, which is a function to find the length of a string. And now suppose that you have a string like this, and not that if you want to use any string processing function, you have to include this header file. Okay, now this is the function that we are discussing. String length of, sorry, there is a typo. This should be s-word2. Sorry for the typing mistake. And if you execute, this is the message getting printed. And what will be printed as the length? Will it be 5 or 4? It's actually 4. So /0 is not counted by the strlen function. It will only count the number of characters just before the first /0. Okay, if you look at formally what it is or formal syntax, this is how you can use it. This is the name of the function to which returns the length of the string. And what is this? This is the string whose length needs to be obtained, and it can be the name or address of the array, single dimensional array representing a string, or it could be a string constant. That means you can give it like strlen of hello. Okay, it will print 5 as the output if you print this value return. Okay, the next function that we are going to look at is strcpy. This is to copy string from one array to another one. So let's see this line. So we want to see how the string copy function works. And note that here I have created 2 arrays, character arrays with 100 as size, and I put hello as the value in the second array. And now I'm trying to copy that hello from here to the first array as well. Okay, that's what it's doing. And if I execute this line, the message is getting printed. The strings are, then I am printing both the strings. So if string copy is working correctly, I should get hello and hello. So that will be the result. So you can type and see how exactly it's happening. Now let's proceed and formally look at what string copy is doing. So this is how we can use it. Sorry, this is the name of the function to copy a string from the second one to the first one. What is this string? Name or address of the array to which the string to be copied. So this is the destination. And now this is the source, string to be copied. And what could be that? This can be the name or address of the array representing the source string, or it could be the string constant. In this case, you can say string copy to the first array, you can say this string constant. That is allowed. But here it must be an array. Proceeding to the next string processing function, which is to concatenate 2 strings. The keyword is strcat, or the function name is strcat. Let us look at an example. Here I have declared 2 arrays, and to the first one I assigned the string constant good and morning to the another array. Then I am going to concatenate. So we concatenate the first and second string and store the result in the first string. That is the syntax. So this is what I am doing. So after doing that, if I print this, I am getting this message displayed, and I want to see then what will be stored in the first array. So it must be the concatenation of these two. Again, type and see what is happening. Not that there is no space between. If you want to put a space, you have to leave a space here. That's the only way. Or using programming, maybe you can later add a space into this array, then concatenate. So it's a simple usage. So let's proceed and see formally how it looks like. So strcat is the name of the function to concatenate. Sorry for the typing mistake. It's a copy mistake. Concatenate two strings. And this is the destination, name or address of the array to the end of which the string to be concatenated. This is the source, string to be concatenated. And here it could be the name of the array or a string constant like this. So usage is very simple. Moving to the next, which is string compare. It's very useful. If you want to sort a sequence of strings in alphabetic order, you can use this function. This is for comparing these two strings. To understand what it is doing, let us look at an example. Here I have two arrays. In the first array, text 1, I'm storing good. In the second array, I'm storing morning. You note that in the alphabetic order, the first one comes before the second one. Now what I'm trying to do is, I'm printing the result of string comparison between the first and second. And I'm just printing the result. You can see that it is given as -6. This is actually, you can consider this as the relative order. Maybe if you sort the list and how far it is, the second string is away from the first string, like that. But the value, the actual value, the 6 is not very important. Minus means, the result is minus, that means the first string is should come before the second string if you want to sort them in alphabetic order. Now you change the order. Suppose you try to string compare in the other order, then it is given as 6. That means in this particular case, the first string, which is morning, should come after the second string, and that is why it is positive. And if you compare the same string, it will give you 0. Okay, you want to see whether two strings are same. You cannot use just like equal to, which will not work on string. Okay, you can use string compare, and if the result is 0, that means both the strings are same. Look at it formally. strcmp is the name of the function to compare two strings. And this is the first string for comparison. Again, sorry for the typing mistake. It should be string 1. And it could be the array representing a string, or it can be a string constant. This is the second string. Here again, it can be an array or a string constant. That is, you can have both string constant in this case. And this is the semantics. It returns 0 if both the strings are identical. Identical means same character at the concerned position. And it returns negative if string 1 precedes string 2 in alphabetic order. Otherwise, it returns a positive value. Just try to remember this and use it for your processing. And with this, we are coming to the last slide of this lecture, where I am giving you a number of exercise problems for you to practice and understand how built-in string processing functions are working in the C language. So today, we have seen what are really strings in C. They are null terminated sequence of characters. And also we have seen the common built-in functions provided by the C language for string processing. And for using all those functions, today we have discussed functions to find the length of a string, function to copy a string to another array, function to concatenate two strings, and also function to compare two strings. And to use these functions, you have to include the header file string.h. Thank you.